My standing criticism of Orlando Pirates over the past few seasons has been that Orlando Pirates is the most dangerous team in the league, but they don't have the consistency to back it up. My standing criticism of Pirates has been that they can't win the random Tuesday game before or after a really big game where they just don't show up and really let the emotions run. But lo and behold, this season I sit back and I'm looking at another random Tuesday and another Pirates win. And not only a Pirates win versus the TS Galaxy team that has 4 wins and a draw this time, at this point of the season. In the last 5 games, they had 4 wins and 1 draw, meaning in the last 5 games, TS Galaxy had not tasted a loss. It was a team that was on form. And what Pirates displayed today was that, you know what, it doesn't matter how it happens. It can be a penalty, it can be a nose, it can be a knee. You have to get the wins and you have to continue on. The form guide of Pirates is just wins. It's just wins. What's even scary about Pirates right now is that they're doing it every day. Guys. Every day Nemtajela was playing. Do you understand? I know through injury, we haven't seen the PSL midfield of the season. We haven't seen the defender of the season last year. We've seen new players coming in. We saw Rile at the 10 today with Moremi on the left, playing with Mahopa. Libito has made it back into the team. And this Pirates team continues to show that they're taking every single game seriously. And honestly, that's all we can ask for from Pirates. That's all we can ask for from a team that we've been saying is challenging every year. These are the games that are very important to mounting a proper challenge and to possibly winning a league. And Pirates up to this point has shown that they are here for it. Now, when we get into the game, it wasn't a perfect game. But of course, the scoreboard, the points, they don't write perfect. But when you look at the game that Paris came into today, the experiment of having Relay as number 10 is still happening, or trying to develop Relay into number 10 is still happening. You can understand the type of setup they have when Mahopa's on the pitch, because when Relay was the most dangerous, it was when he was running past Mahopa. So there was a time last season, or the season before, if I'm not mistaken, where Mahopa's role was to drag a centre back, and then the 3 players, it would be the 2 wingers and the number 10 player, would run past him. And that is how they were scoring goals. And I think that was more of what the setup demanded for today. Because what TS Galaxy did was stack the midfield so that you couldn't necessarily have a 10 that could be influential. And I think what Pirates sort of realized a little bit early on in that game was that I think Uzulu, the partnership there at the back, the 2 centre backs, the TS Galaxy, you could tell, I believe this is Zulu's first game, but you could tell that they're not communicating well enough. And the fear of Mahopa was, the fear of Sbelebele was shifting the team a little bit this side. And because he was watching Mahopa so much, there was a ball that they had the opportunity to play, Pirates. And even later in the game, those 2 were too fixated on what is happening in front of them instead of what is happening behind them. And Pirates could have taken a lot of those chances. I'll get to some of my problems with Pirates' play. We are seeing Siema step up. And like I said, if Mbogazi is the Pro Max version of Sbisi, in that not only is he a fighter, he's strong, he can also play the ball. UCM is now also standing up and saying, guys, I'm a very good defender and maybe I'm an upgrade on Sesane, because for the past few games, the game really has been going through him. So it's really good to see him come into the game. Dooley, I think, was solid as always in that midfield, especially because they were chasing Puso. Puso was playing Peekaboo up in the middle, and maybe if Puso was playing 10, something would have happened. But anyway, that's besides the point. We're still on Pirates right now, right? I think Pirates needs to worry a little bit And my worry is there's a ball. There's a ball I'm looking for that I've only seen from Apolis this season, but there's a ball that could give Makgopa 10 more goals this season. And I know we like to speak of Makgopa as a striker who doesn't score, but if you watch that game very carefully, I've said this before, if you want goals from Makgopa, there's a little window on counters between the defense and the goalkeeper. When the defense is rushing back looking at their own goals, if you watch Makgopa's movement, if you watch his movement, the way he's able to, he doesn't make a straight run. He runs a little bit inside because he sees that low ulele. I think it was Ndaman for the chance that Sibelebele messed up, but Ndaman ulele. This one is too far away. So if I can run in and an early ball is played, he could score. We had a chance like that from Usbelebele on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, and then on the other side, Umureminaye didn't play the ball. And my criticism of some of our players, especially the wingers, is that they don't take a second to look up. And because our wingers are primed to be scoring players, there's certain balls and certain decisions that they don't make. You know, in the second half, Apolis comes on, and I want to give Apolis credit, actually. I want to give Apolis credit because Apolis is one of the few players in the PSL as a whole who can make the right decisions at the right time. When he needs to shoot, he shoots. When he needs to play the 1-2 and open up, you saw right before Makgopa came off, you saw him play the 1-2, put himself into the box, and then you see him, more importantly, make the passes. Make the passes. But there was a run that he was making, and Relay, and I think Relay and Moremi were playing on the wing, but they were so focused on looking at themselves playing down that channel with the overload. The defense had shifted and Apolis was alone. There's so many chances in South African football where if somebody was to look up, or sometimes it's not even about knowing, maybe it's a blind pass that you play through, you'd score so many more goals because of the movement of some of the players. My only thing that I would love to see more from Pirates is Makgopa and Apolis playing together. Because I think Makgopa tends to drag wide. I don't like when he does that, but he tends to drag wide to the right a lot. And when he's playing with a more of a traditional winger, if you look at Usbelebele doesn't know what to do because his instincts are to go outside. He doesn't play inside. So Usbelebele and Libitso, when Makgopa was making those moves, didn't know what to do. But when you get an Apolis who loves coming inside and is more of a tennis wing, I call it a tennis wing, where he doesn't like hugging the line, he likes to be in the thick of things. Makgopa going wide allows him a little bit of that highway in. And if you can just play a little bit better there, Makgopa can drag a lot of players out of position, right? So I want to see a little bit more of that type of movement. When it comes to TS Galaxy, I think coach had a choice to make. And coach's choice was, do we play free or do we play players to sort of fill the midfield with a lot of people and fill the game with a lot of players whose instinct to go back. And I want to highlight Velase here. I know Velase as a 6, usually defensive. If you think about the goals, there was a goal that Chiefs scored last season where he was, I think of him as a player that plays in the 6, or I think of him as a right back. I don't think of him as a striker. And you could tell that he was a little bit missing there because those instincts to play up there to go and score or to go and create those opportunities were not there. And what was happening is that Upusodi Tejani was then being forced to go 1v1 a lot. Now, the TS Galaxy that I know, and maybe Zajmovic is a very important player here, but the TS Galaxy that I know, they would overload a side. So the striker would move in, Zajmovic would move to the side, striker would move to the side, Zajmovic would go to the side, you'd have another player and you'd isolate one of the players. So if you think about the game they played versus Sundowns, where their counterattack last season, where their counterattacks were focused somewhere, right, to overwhelm somebody and then through your play score. And I think TS Galaxy is one of the better ball playing teams. But today, because the primary role, I guess, was to try and keep Relay quiet, was to try and make sure that you're pushing Pirates wide, they didn't have outlets. And it's such a frustrating thing because it's what I speak about when I speak about the pattern of the league. The pattern of smaller, quote-unquote, teams playing bigger teams is that they come in and they play it too safe and too defensive. And then they concede the goal. And what happens is, if the goal comes early enough, they try and play in the last 10 minutes. They try and play in the first 15 minutes, but umlilo paraffin because it ends so quickly. And then they spend the rest of the game being vulnerable. The rest of the game, they don't have it in the tank to chase them. And I think that's what happened because Junior Zindoga is an incredible player. Junior Zindoga was the guy that when Marumo Galan's under coach Ouaddou played Pirates last year, he was one of the danger men, right? Last season, one of the danger men who was putting Pirates under pressure. But now he comes in as a game changer in a time when you are 1-0 down, in a time when the gas is gone in the tank, in a time where Puso Ditejane is now playing left back almost, having to pick up the ball from there because now our police is on the pitch, Mabasa's on the pitch. You can't be defensively flexible at that time. And he doesn't have the luxury of the help. So it ends up being his energy that he comes in with is the energy to cover for the other tired players. So when Abum Kaka came off, you saw Zindoga, at some point he was playing right wing to go fetch the ball and taking away his strength of being a counter-attacking great striker, right? So I think TS Galaxy might have got it a little bit wrong here. Now, to be fair, the game was won by a penalty, to be fair. Pirates got a lot of chances that they didn't finish. Moremi hitting the post. There were a couple of shots taken. But the thing about a 1-0 is that at the end of the game, TS Galaxy almost scored. Chain made 2 incredible saves towards the end of that game. And if they score that goal, you become 1-1. And I guess the only thing that I think Pirates has left to bring into the game this season, and I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong up to this point, but a nice thing they could bring into this game, in some of the games, is the ability to manage games a little bit better towards the end. So Pirates makes a lot of accelerating changes. Apolis is an accelerator. You know, Mabasa's looking for goals. He's an accelerator, which serves you well in some games where you're going to have to counter-attack a lot, or in cup games where the other team is now attacking you, they're leaving spaces in the back, you need that impetus. But some games, you're going to need Mbule to come in and play with an Mtangela, play with Nduli, you know, play with some players who are okay with holding the ball and suck the life out of games. Right? Some days you're going to need to do that. You know, some days you might even need to bring Bule and Tito on at the end of games just because Tito's press resistant and they can play those passes in between themselves and around the back with the abilities of Abo Siema, with the abilities of Abo Mbogazi, right, to play. I think they need to do that. Lastly, I want to speak about Umabasa because I've spoken about Umahopa and I've spoken about that lack of that supply, that ball. Right, Umabasa is a similar player because, like the script goes, because that other team is tired, they become reckless. Now Mabasa scores a lot of late goals because he's got that ability to go, Senkatele, Sediba reckless. Now I can pop up in the box a few more times. And again, if the Pirates players, and I think Relay was at fault for some of this, if the Pirates players can at times not be too sexy and play that ball directly and play that ball through and give it to Mabasa directly or go wide and play the ball in immediately. I think if they could do that, Mabasa again would go back to that form that we know him for. So for me, in as much as we cry about strikers, I think we need to start questioning supply. We need to start questioning gameplay. We need to start questioning sequences in the game that are created to get your strikers free, right? That is what the top teams do. You know, Reynolds gets put into the same positions a lot. Matthews gets put into the same positions a lot. And even though he's not the best of finishers, because he's got so many chances to do that thing that he does best, you know, we need to see something. I think Apolis is more of a case for me for 10 than Rile. I've said that. And I hope that, for me personally, I'd love to see Rile go back to the wing, because I feel like we're trying to engineer the 10 from him. And I don't know if he's played that before, but I think as a winger, as a danger player, so much can be done with Mfugeng, right? You saw the type of spaces he was picking up. You saw that he was a little bit more sharper than Moremi in terms of final third play, right? And when he drops back, he tends to lose the ball a lot, or he tends to try and do fancier things. So I'd love to see him go to the wing and just be the best winger that we have, right? I don't know about this development into a 10. I'd much rather play Apolis there. I'd much rather see Shenko come back into that position if we're going to do that. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Pirates, all well worth the win. 2-0. Being able to win another boring, uneventful Tuesday game after the highs of a weekend, looking forward to a calling knockout. That is what we've been asking for, Pirates. That is what they're giving us this season. Long may it continue, because we need to see great football from our great teams. It can't just be Sundowns holding everything up. And it's not to say Sundowns needs to lose, but it's to say that let's have a fight, and let's have a proper fight. I'll see you guys on the next one.